Okay, we are back after Nala just freaked out and started to try to attack our foster dog. Anyways, this, I don't know what this is. I got it last fall, half off at Home Depot because it didn't have a label on it, and it was like $8. And I have no idea what it is. I think it's a nectarine plant because the blooms came out way earlier than the other trees, and then of course it died because we got a little bit of snow. So it's real cold intolerant, so I'm assuming it's a nectarine, but it might be some sort of a plum tree because it's got like plum colored bark. This is a baby, I think they're called baby blue eyes spruce. It only gets about 6 feet tall and a couple feet wide. It's like a mini Christmas tree basically, and has this really pretty blue-green color. This I think is called the creeping Jenny. I don't know what it is. I was gifted
it's not
that.
a creeping Jenny.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
It's
I was gifted that by a friend. The same guy, he came over with a whole bunch of plants and gave me a bunch of them. I have no idea what it is. This is chokecherry. It's the tree out there is chokecherry, but that's a chokecherry tree. These are chokecherry bushes, and birds love them, and they eat the berries, and they live in there, and they'll stay in there, and they eat the bugs, which I guess is a pretty good thing. So we're trying to do a permaculture concept where we bring as many beneficial species and do intermixed plantings. That's why I don't have all the Russian sage in a row. You know, that's not natural. You don't see that in nature. This is another gooseberry plant. This one's doing really well, much better than the other one, probably because it gets a little more sun. This is another strawberry patch. This is another serviceberry. This is a perennial. I forget what it's called. It's just a random perennial flower. Try to attract bees to the garden. This is called a smoke tree, and it's really beautiful, and it turns into a huge bush, or what is like a small tree, like 10 feet tall and a couple feet wide, and it gets these really beautiful, shimmery, like, I don't know how to describe them, not fruits, but like something that grows off of the plant, and it's just really beautiful. You see them in Denver a lot. This is a peach tree. I just planted this about 2 weeks ago. It seems to be doing pretty well. Nice and healthy. I like it. I've got some mint down there that I was given by a friend, my neighbor across the street, who assured me that they're like an heirloom variety. They're really old. Another currant plant. Another random plant. I don't know what it's called, but it seems to be doing pretty well. This is called a broom plant. And broom grows wild out here, and there's actually a town called Broomfield not far from here, and it just creates these huge like screens basically, and I'm pretty sure it's what makes tumbleweeds when they dry and they get ripped out of the ground and they dry and they roll around. I think that's what a tumbleweed is. This is a lilac bush. This is a slightly different lilac from my neighbor's. This is a Korean lilac bush, so it doesn't get as big. I don't know much about it. Got it at Home Depot. Lilacs are good windbreaks. They're really tough. They're super drought tolerant because we can't always water here, and you want stuff that's naturally drought tolerant. This is a wild plum. I forget what it's called. I think it's just called an American wild plum, and it gets these little baby plums that are like the size of cherries, and they're supposed to be delicious. I've never tried them. Hopefully I'll get some this year. Another strawberry patch. These are much bigger. They're called Goliath. They're from, what is it? Sequoia from Home Depot. I highly recommend them. As you can see, there's already little baby berries here. And it's only, May 10th. I have lavender and random ground covers. This is actually a green grape. Try to plant a lot of grapes to grow along the fence to create a windbreak and some privacy. This is a red delicious apple tree, and it did have twice as many branches, but the squirrels got to it last year and absolutely destroyed it. They ate a ton of the branches, so I'm pretty disappointed. I probably won't get many apples this year, whereas the other tree is really filled out and looks really beautiful. More broom plants. Random sunflowers are popping up that Jen had. She had these giant sunflowers here last year, hence the huge stalk that you can see is like much bigger than my thumb. It's like the size of a big cigar. Wild rosemary plant. This is called a Siberian pea shrub, and this is another windbreak, but it also drops these edible pea pods that you can eat, but they don't taste very good, so you give them to chickens as a protein source, and or you can just drop around in your garden. If you notice, we have random stuff in our garden. It's just called chop and drop, where you drop random stuff because it's going to break down and it's going to enrich the soil. The soil is a million times better than it was just 2 years ago when we first moved in. See how the tree just falls apart? That'll enrich the soil. It also creates areas for bugs to hide, and it can hold the mulch down if big winds come. This is another Moonglow juniper. This one isn't doing quite as well. The soil over here wasn't as good as the soil over there. That soil was great. That soil, there was a tree over there and it was beautiful. This was crap soil. This was like bone dry, terrible soil. More Japanese barberry. These are garlic plants. These were the first things to sprout. They look great. They're not ready to harvest yet. I hear you harvest them in June or July. We'll find out. And over here we've got more perennials that are, these perennials are doing great. And then this is serviceberry. I bought this, was obviously a bigger plant when I bought it. It's I got a couple berries last year. The chickens love them. More Russian sage, more wild grasses, and more raspberries.
And what we think are some pumpkins coming up from last year.
Yeah, they're either pumpkins or some sort of melon, because we dropped the pumpkin when we had a bunch of pumpkins last year, and a whole lot of them went bad, obviously, because you don't keep them. So we just spread it throughout the garden, and they probably sank down. This is where I keep my soil and stuff. It's kind of messy right now, but we got gifted a whole bunch of potted plants from our neighbor that moved out, so we're gonna see how those do this spring. None of them have really gone out yet. This is the chicken run and the chicken coop, obviously. This is my Ingenious waterer that costs like $3 to build, and the Ingenious feeder that
You're drinking.
costs a little more, but that's because PVC is ridiculously expensive for no reason.
Feeder.
And the heavy duty door for the run, we just had some extra siding, and we figured why not use that, because it's an easier door to move in and out of. And then we've got a whole bunch of potted plants over here with random stuff, like, what is this one?
Those are some snapdragons, and
Snapdragons.
some other flowers that I had last year that the seeds took, and some hostas.
Hostas.
There was one in here, but Nala dug it up. So
Yep.
there's another
Yes, she
one. Some more of the pots that our neighbor gave us. A bunch of some wildflowers that, again, the seeds just came up from last year. A little cactus over here.